Were there symptoms you were having that led you to find this?
I was healthy. I was running. I was doing all the things new moms generally don't. When I would complain or feel tired, the answer was always, "You're a new mom. Your body's healing." And MRI that I ended up getting, there was an enlarged disc that I did hurt from the kettlebell pull, but what they
Okay.
found on the X-ray was not something that they were going to pursue. And
Wow.
because I was a new mom, I think I heightened like, okay, what's the word opacity mean? And they were like, you hurt your shoulder as a kid, you might have scar tissue, or if you ever had
Mm,
pneumonia. Hard no. I called that primary care. Like, listen,
of
it's not
course.
resonating. She was
Yeah.
like, I hear you. Or, I'll write you another script, go back, I'll do a different angle. We had just moved to the suburbs. My first time meeting this woman. She's like, there's something there. We can't tell the size. I called the hospital and I was like, I need a CAT scan. And this is in February. They were like, okay, we have something end of March. I had an actual panic attack. Well, I'm a new mom, so like, I'm not going to sleep till the end of March then. And it was this
Lauren,
lovely
yeah.
older woman. Okay, hold on 1 second, dear. Can you be here in 20 minutes? I asked my nanny if she would stay later. I got in the car in like the pouring rain. John's Ubering from New York City to Greenwich Hospital to get a CAT scan, which I didn't know what that was. By the time we walked in the door, she was calling again and was like, are you guys driving? And if not, can you sit down? And so in a 12-hour period of time, our lives went from, oh, we're being like proactive new parents, going to our annual physical, like taking care of our health,
Right.
to our lives like completely upside down.
Welcome to the Forward Think Tank podcast, a place of hope, inspiration, and education around holistic health and healing. I'm your host, Jamie Mazza, a holistic health coach, mental health advocate, and dancer. Join me as I share out-of-the-box conversations with integrative doctors, healers, and exceptional forward-thinking individuals thriving on the other side of their health challenges, as well as stories from my own personal healing journey. Thank you for tuning in. I'm so happy you're here. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Forward Think Tank. This week, I had the pleasure of sitting with Lauren Corcoran to hear all about her journey with stage 3 lung cancer. Lauren is somebody who our paths had crossed almost, over a decade ago. She was actually a friend of my old roommate when I was living in New York back in 2015. We were living a completely different life, and our paths reconnected after she saw about me and my diagnosis, and she reached out because she had recently been diagnosed herself with an advanced lung cancer. And Lauren and I talk very candidly in this episode about all of it. It was raw, it was real, it was candid, about her journey and why she believes that it is so important to love your medical team. That is a topic that came up quite a few times. And as she shared, she got multiple opinions and landed on the group that felt right for her. She has a very great relationship with her doctor. She went through a lot of extensive treatment and talks about where she's at today. We also talk about some of the challenges we face being on the other side of surgery, being on the other side of the original diagnosis, and knowing that this is in ways a long-term monitoring. We talk about her being a brand new mom in the midst of all of this, her supportive, loving partner and husband, John, and how he showed up for her to every single appointment and treatment, and, the impact that made on her healing journey. She also was somebody who really has inspired me through all of this to continue to live your life despite the challenges going on with your health. She is a true testament to that. She ended up moving her family overseas to London, where her husband had a job opportunity that came up, and now they are living their very London life. And it's really inspirational to see her making new connections, having fun, taking holidays, as Elle now calls them. I think, as I've said in other conversations with people going through or who have been through a cancer diagnosis, nobody really gets it like somebody who has walked a parallel journey to you in your shoes. It was a conversation that really meant a lot to me, because as I'm continuing to go through all of this and trying to pick up the pieces of my life and longing and grieving that previous version, rather, of me and who I was before all of this, you realize that life will never be exactly the same. And it's still a hard truth to wrap my head around in some ways. And so some of the questions I asked her about getting back into fitness, about, working through all of it, she shared openly and honestly about what goes through your head as you're dealing with things like this. It's not always rainbows and butterflies. It doesn't necessarily go away when the scans are clear, even, or you're getting no evidence of disease. So it was a conversation that really felt like a warm embrace, um, as somebody who understands this journey all too well at such a young age. And Lauren is an advocate for people with young lung cancer. We didn't get to dive into that too much, but Lauren is an incredible mother, wife, daughter. She is a working woman. She and her family, prior to moving to London, were residing in Connecticut. But as she mentioned, she's lived in multiple different cities, and she has quite the life experience that has really, I think, encouraged her to continue to keep living, continue to keep traveling, and continue to keep making those memories with her family. So, Lauren, thank you so much for this. As always, if you have learned anything from this conversation, or you feel like it's relevant to maybe somebody else in your life going through a journey of their own, Lauren and I are completely open books. We love to share, and we'd love to also be there for people who are facing similar situations. I will include in the episode notes how to get in touch with Lauren, where you can find her on social media. So Lauren, it was a true honor to have you here to hear more about your story. Please, everyone, give a warm welcome to Lauren Corcoran. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Forward Think Tank. This week, I am joined by a friend and fellow cancer survivor, Lauren Corcoran. Lauren, welcome to the Forward Think Tank. It is such an honor to have you here. Thank you for sharing your story. I know you and I have really been reconnected in a way that I think neither of us would have ever imagined. You've moved your family overseas recently, so we've been trying to sync up and make this happen. I'm just so happy to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I was actually thinking about it this morning. I don't know the year, but remember that small New York City apartment with my friend Steph?
Yeah.
That's how we met.
Yeah.
And to reconnect like this, God, it has to be like 10 years ago?
At least 10, 11 years, because I got engaged in 2015, and that was the year that Steph and I were living together.
I was like visiting her. I was still living in Boston. I hadn't met my husband yet. Like,
Yeah.
that's wild.
It's a different lifetime, right?
It's like 10 lifetimes ago.
Yeah.
To be honest. 10 whole lifetimes.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think you and I are here sharing our stories and how we're doing and how we're thriving, and sometimes just also surviving, because life can just throw you lemons. I would love for you to share your story, because it is such a powerful one and also a wild one. Before we get into the diagnosis itself, can you paint a picture for what was going on in your life leading up to finding this?
Right before my diagnosis, recently married, recently had our first baby girl named Elle. We had moved from our apartment in Brooklyn to a house in Connecticut. Was still on maternity while we moved, so got really busy like learning how to be a mom and furnish a house. And actually out of maternity, moved away from consulting and started a new full-time job. So I was deep in all of that. And we got to Elle's first birthday, which was January of 2023. Her due date had been my husband's 40th. So we did a
Wow.
belated 40th, 41st and 1st. We rented out a brewery. We had like all of our friends. It was like a party for us, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I honestly, we'd like never been happier. I don't know if we were suburbs people necessarily, but it felt like we were doing all the adult things. We were catching up on life, losing the baby weight, and like just feeling like ourselves again, right? After surviving the first year of having our first child.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So you were starting to get yourself back in shape, moving to suburbia. So many changes, so many good things, but also like so much happening that you're navigating. So you're getting back into shape. And I think I remember from seeing your story, you thought you had pulled a muscle, or like, were there symptoms you were having that led you to find this? Did you brush them off at first?
Yeah, it's a good question, and one I think I'm still figuring out. Like at the time, and up until I think more research has happened, I did not have any symptoms. I actually was at my annual physical. My blood work was perfect. We had signed up for a Maine half marathon. It was my husband's first. I had done them when I was in my 20s. So we were like running 5-7 miles a day, trying to get back into shape.
Yeah.
I was at the gym and was doing some strength classes. I did a kettlebell pull and tweaked my neck. And so while at that physical, she also had a 1-year-old and she was like, that stinks, like, picking your daughter up and like carrying her and wearing her and the crib. And if it doesn't go away, here's a script for an x-ray at your own discretion. Don't do it if you don't want to, but if in a few weeks it's still bothering you, go ahead and make sure you didn't actually damage something.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
how I got to my x-ray.
Wow. It's funny because I sit here and I think all the time, like, what were the symptoms I was having? I was in a similar situation to you where mine wasn't necessarily it moved into my lung lining, but it was on my thymus gland. So around all those major organs. But the doctors were like, you never had a hard time breathing. You never had a cough, wheeze. I'm like, no, but I think back in the beginning of the pandemic when we were all trying to figure out life and like working out from home and all the things, I remember having some shoulder pain that wouldn't go away. And I'm like, God, I wonder if that was it. And that was a few years prior to finding it all. But it's interesting when we're young and healthy and don't have these blaringly obvious things
Yeah.
telling us something might be going on.
Right. So now I will obviously get into it, but advanced lung cancer in young women, particularly around childbearing years or right afterwards, is being researched significantly more as A, the numbers are going up, but B, I think there's more of a platform and camaraderie in all of us coming forward and telling our stories. And the shoulder pain is something. I think if I put on my like new mom advocacy hat too, like
Mm,
I was healthy. I was running, like I was doing all the things new moms generally don't, getting new job, right? So when I
yeah.
would complain or feel tired, the answer was always like, you're a new mom. Your body's healing. And this is all the credit in the world to my doctors, not my oncologist I ended up with, but the ones that found it. My x-ray said slight opacity in the chest, check back in 6 to 12 months. The actual
Wow.
spine MRI that I ended up getting, there was an enlarged disc that I did hurt from the kettlebell pull, but what they
Okay.
found on the x-ray was not something that they were going to move forward with or pursue. And
Wow.
because I was a new mom, I think, okay, what's the word opacity mean? I had never had a CAT scan or an MRI.
Yeah.
I didn't. So I
Same.
was reading the report and they were like, oh, it's probably, if you hurt your shoulder as a kid, you might have scar tissue, or if you ever had
Mm,
pneumonia. And so I texted my parents and I had never broken a bone. I'd never been in the hospital. And they were like, yeah, hard no. Nothing ever happened in that area.
yeah.
So I called that primary care and I was like, listen, anxiety,
Of
it's not
course.
resonating. And she was
Yeah.
like, totally, I hear you. Good for you. I'll write you another script, go back, I'll do it a different angle. I've mentioned this in my stories. My CEO, who was very demanding at the time, like he was on vacation that week. So normally I would be, on my computer, couldn't really run out for
Right.
appointments. I went same day back to the same place for an x-ray. And I like remember looking, you can like see them through the window sometimes. And like they were calling somebody and I was like actually when I was standing for the x-ray, she was, this is a weird angle. I don't think I've done this since school. It was like an unusual angle to do a chest x-ray of. And I
Jeez.
was like, cool, love that for me.
Great.
And then I could like see the people and I was like, and they were like, okay. And I don't know, you know how you always look for the scan people, like,
Yes. Yes.
like
Like,
what,
what's
what do
going
you
on?
think? Is it like good? Or it was my first time where I was like, this doesn't feel right. And
Mm,
then I was still driving home when the primary care called. So like listen, outside of New York City, local doctors, local hospital, like those radiologists called my primary care immediately when I walked
wow.
out the door. And she started like saying a lot of words and things. And that was my first time meeting her. We had just moved to the suburbs, right? So it was my first time meeting this woman. She was a young mother as well. It's
Yeah.
anybody's nightmare, right? And she's like, there's something there. We can't tell the size. A bunch of medical words, right? And she's like, I'm going to give you a number. We need you to get a CAT scan. And I was like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
My husband almost never went into New York City to the office. We're mainly remote. He was in New York City. So I'm texting him like, going for an x-ray, going for a second x-ray. You need to come home. I need to get a CAT scan, right? And he's calling me, but I'm on the phone with her. It was like chaos. And so it's the same day. I called the hospital and I was like, I need a CAT scan. And this is in February. They were like, okay, we have something end of March. And I had an actual panic attack. And I was like, well, I'm a new mom, so like I'm not going to sleep till the end of March then. And it was this
Lauren,
lovely
yeah.
older woman that was like, okay, hold on 1 second, dear. And like, she's like, can you be here in 20 minutes? So I asked my nanny if she would stay later. I got in the car in like the pouring rain. John's Ubering from New York City to Greenwich Hospital
Mm,
to get a CAT scan, which I didn't know what that was. By the time we walked in the door, she was calling again and was like, are you guys driving? And if not, can you sit down? And in a 12-hour period of time, our lives went from like, oh, we're being proactive new parents, going to our annual physical, taking care of our health, to our lives like completely upside down. So long-winded.
Please.
There, for all of us, I think young, healthy, like people tend to be like, you're stressed, you didn't sleep well enough. I think there's another layer of new moms. It's like, I know a few now who, your organs are moving back, your body's supposed to hurt, everything's supposed to be sore, you're carrying a weight, you're breastfeeding, all of that. You're up, you're not sleeping as well. And depending on how your labor went. And there was just something that I could have easily waited 6 to 12 months, right? And, I think.
But it sounds almost too like maybe there was a gut instinct there. And also, I think I would have done the same thing putting myself in your shoes. It's like you see something irregular, you immediately question that. The doctors, bless them for the work that they do, but they are almost so numb to it because they see it all the time. So they may be able to just like pass something off as, oh, this isn't urgent.
And
But
most things aren't, right?
yeah.
Most x-rays that have something aren't going to be my story, but like endless thanks to my doctor that was like, I hear you. I'll write you another script. I'll get you
Yeah.
into that CAT scan, right? Like,
Yeah.
because something just didn't feel right and I was listening to it.
We have to. We have to advocate for ourselves. And in that moment, you didn't know, of course, what was happening. But you also are saying, okay, I can't live with this anxiety. Please help me get in and give me some clarity. Obviously, not knowing what was going to be on the other side of that.
The craziest part is I couldn't get an annual physical. I called like 5 primary cares and nobody could see us until July or August. It was January. And then when I tweaked my neck in February, I was like, I don't have a doctor to go to. I'll go to a chiropractor and see if she can like help it.
Yeah.
She was like, you're a new mom trying to take care of yourself and you can't get in. That's horrible. Texted her primary care, who's the woman I ended up going to, who had an opening the next day.
What an angel.
But in the craziest
Yeah.
of ways. I made the appointment before I met this chiropractor. They called to like confirm appointment in July. They're like, just want to like coming in for your first annual physical. And I was like, thanks. I've been through chemo radiation. I'm going for a big surgery now. So thanks for not seeing me. But the more I've learned about this, if I had just waited for that annual physical, there's a very good chance that I'd be stage 4 terminal right now. And the inflection point of almost choose your own adventure when you're a kid. If I hadn't this, if she hadn't texted that, if like,
oh yeah,
and like where I could be, and honestly, as awful as all of it is, like so blessed that like something guided me to that appointment, to that x-ray, to that doctor, and it's just very weird if I let myself focus on it, which I don't very often because it's too much sometimes.
Yeah. And listen, as much or as little as you want to share about this journey, because it is yours. And I like to be very mindful of not making people totally relive their trauma, because I can traumatize myself sometimes, just like thinking back through all that happened. As much as
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, please. Okay, you have an idea of what's going on. As things are unfolding, you're getting more information. How did you go about finding the right care team for your case? Because I know that you really did and still do like love everybody at the hospital that you were at. You ended up loving your doctors. Did you get more than one opinion?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, my journey and like exploration from that CAT scan to really figuring it out was honestly quite quick compared to a lot of people that I've met since. We had to wait the weekend, but the primary care was friends with the head of thoracic surgery at Stanford Hospital. Wow. He was in Europe with his family. She texted him and was like, 38-year-old new mom, like whatever she thought it was.
Yeah.
And he made an appointment between surgeries on Monday. Or he pushed between surgeries on the Monday to meet me. So we did an 8 a.m. PET scan at the original hospital. It was Greenwich Hospital that I went to for the CAT scan. They did the PET scan. They sent it over to Stanford Hospital while my husband and I drove to meet Michael Ebright, who's like my best friend in the world now. He literally fit me in between surgeries, was like, this is stage 3. We need to make sure it's not stage 4. So I went to a bronchoscopy, brain MRI, spine MRI. So every day that week, there was a different procedure to kind of figure out where we were. The bronchoscopy they knew by the end of the week it was stage 3B at least. For lung cancer, there's a biomarker screening, which is exceptionally important. They take the tissue from the actual tumor and they test it for these biomarkers, which are the genetic mutations driving it. There's a number of them in lung. The original standard of care, which they would have recommended, ended up very different when my biomarker came back with EGFR 19, which was a non-standard insertion deletion. It was an extremely rare version of EGFR.
Okay.
So they took me to their tumor board. We got their perspective. We
Mhm.
also, I was lucky enough to have family friends that were connected to MSK. They got me to their top lung person. Actually, we had that tumor board and it was my birthday. I found out like 9 days before my birthday, actually 3 years ago this week. So we had, my husband and I had our first away trip planned away from Els to Mexico. And we were like, should we cancel? And they're like, you should go to Mexico. So it was a bit of a mess of a trip, to be honest. We were very emotional, but
I'm
we had
sure.
the first tumor board. We left Elle with grandma. We went to Mexico and had like our own mental breakdown about all of it, like, oh, so
Yeah.
that the baby wouldn't see.
Yeah.
We flew in from Mexico to New York City, went immediately to an Airbnb and met with
Wow.
MSK for their full team, the oncologist, surgeon, and radiologist to take us to the tumor board. And then one of the renowned experts in my gene mutation was at Dana-Farber. And
Mm.
Dana-Farber was connected to my local hospital, Stanford.
Okay.
They oversee,
Okay.
they're like partnered. So we also got evaluated by them. And the tumor boards came back with 2 different recommendations, which was tricky.
Of course. It puts you in this situation of like, who
My
do I
adopted
listen to?
mother.
Who do I trust when I'm already feeling overwhelmed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, they were very open to talking to each other and they were very transparent that my case was very rare. There wasn't really any data, and each other's like first recommendation was like the
Mhm.
second, right? So like what MSK came forward with, their second recommendation was what Stanford, and Stanford their second. So they supported. They're like, I think both of them have a good shot. I think both of them there's risk
Okay.
in, right? And so at the end of the day, it was very controversial, but we did decline MSK and we went with our local hospital, which all the opinions you are not interested in hearing came to us about that. We felt very confident in their proposal for care, but for me, I've always been lucky enough to never have had a stitch or broken a bone, or outside of having a baby, I'd never
Yeah.
been in the hospital,
Yeah.
never really been sick. I'm terrified of needles and doctors.
Mm.
And for me, it was basically outside of being very sick as a new mom, going to a doctor regularly and all of the procedures was my actual worst nightmare. So I needed people that could meet me where I was with that component of it, which at the end of the day, needles don't hurt. It's a mental health thing around doctors. And I needed people
Sure.
that would partner with me on that and really have that bedside manner that I needed. And that's why we went with the people we went with.
And that's so important. I also went to Memorial Sloan Kettering and got some opinions there. And at the point that I was at, we were thinking surgery was going to happen sooner than it did. I was originally at New York Presbyterian, the surgeons at Memorial Sloan Kettering, and I was shocked to hear this. I'm like, you're MSK. What do you mean you're like the Mecca? They were like, no, we actually think you're in better hands with the surgeons at New York Pres because you're going to need a cardiologist in there. You're going to need the thoracic surgeon and maybe some other people. We don't have, for whatever reason, they didn't have the capabilities. But I ended up not going with the team at New York Presbyterian because that doctor, and bless him, I mean, he was a talented man, but his bedside manner was so poor. Like he scared me to my core. And when I met my new surgeon who ended up doing the surgery confidently, and this man sounds similar to your surgeon, and your doctors where they're texting you, right? You're becoming friends, you're building this relationship, you're building this trust with them. They make you feel safe in a
Yeah.
totally unsafe situation.
Yes. And I think that's one of my biggest piece of advice to newly diagnosed people is you need to understand it. Don't Google. I still do.
Yes.
Like, don't Google. Get all of the information before you totally lose it.
Mhm.
And to me, most importantly, love your team. And everybody has different styles. You're not going to find somebody who's going to give you their personal number. Like that's kind of unusual, blessed, but you need to feel like they think you're family and they're fighting for you. And again, hard to come by, but they're out there and they're prominent and they're becoming more and more, right? Some of these
Mhm.
younger oncologists, which some people, parents, might say like it's less experience. You want to go with the most experienced person. They're leading with more empathy because they're looking at their peer group. They're oncologists treating
Yeah.
their peers, right? This
Right.
young cancer thing is all cancer is awful, but the young cancer is a particular soft spot, I think, with oncologists that did not go to school thinking they're treating their peer group, right out of
Yeah.
school. The biggest thing is trust your team, know that they're fighting for you in front of you, but also behind closed doors to do all of the crazy things that you want them to do to give you the best chance.
Yeah. I know once you got your plan in place, you found your team, and we don't have to go into this. I mean, if you can just,
Yeah.
I guess, generally share with people who are listening and who may be curious or having similar experiences, Was your protocol chemotherapy, radiation, and then surgery? Is that correct?
Yeah, concurrent chemoradiation with the hope of shrinking. So stage 3 would generally be questionable for surgery, a lot with the location, proximity to heart, etc. There are a lot of hospitals that don't want to do surgery after radiation because of all of the damage. It's a riskier surgery, harder to get everything out. Which was one of the differences in opinion between the two hospitals. We needed to shrink it in amount to make it safe for me to have the surgery. So it was chemoradiation pause. If I was in a good place, surgery, which is what I did. I had an upper left lobectomy. So they removed the top half of my left lung and I think over 50 lymph nodes in my mediastinal. And the reason it was stage 3 is one lymph node had lit up on my right lung. So it was on the move. So they removed. And I'm now on a daily targeted therapy for the past two and a half years. That I take. It was originally to get any microcells that could have been left behind and to hopefully prevent recurrence. The tumor that was removed had a little bit more active cancer than was desirable. So it went from like, you could go on Tagrisso to like, this is the next stage of care. Like this is, we're going to, for the most part, say this is highly recommended. And so I've been on that for a few years.
Yeah. And I'm sure, having gone through my own surgery, which was similar but different, going through all that, trying to heal your mental health, your physical health, having a newborn, where did you find support and resources as you were going through your healing process, which I'm sure there was many layers of?
Yeah. Support was endless. I think the community that rallies around you. I've lived in a number of places and I have amazing friends, but my husband's like born in one town, same group of friends. He's got his high school friends and his college friends. And like, he lived in Boston until he met me, lived, down the street from everybody. He had his like solid crew, right?
Sure.
I have friends from like all over every different city I've lived in. And so that's amazing, but you don't have that like group of 10 girls that are going to like come over and do everything. And particularly we had just moved to the community that we were living in. So had only been there about 8 months when this happened and people showed up. It was crazy. The love that we felt in our neighborhood where it was like the last place we thought we'd feel, right? Like brand new. People were like dropping off food, trying to help with our daughter, taking her during appointments, like amazing, but also like mom's nights and like, let's go for a walk to get you out of the house, or you're going to Mexico. Here's a bunch of my dresses, like feel pretty, right? Just little things. Family showed up anytime we wanted or needed. I think, to be honest, John and I are super outgoing people, but when it comes to going through hard times, we tend to go pretty insular to the two of us. When we had our baby, nobody was in the hospital. We like to go through things, the two of us. And so it was the same. He went to all 42 radiation sessions, every doctor appointment, every blood draw, because I would pass out if he was not there to hold my hand, even a finger prick. He sat in the 10-hour chemotherapies. He's actually to this day never missed anything. He hasn't missed a doctor appointment, a virtual call. We had a great marriage before. The way that we came together, I think was a little bit for Elle, to be honest. We're like, we have to stay good for her, right? The only way we could be the best parents is to, cancer's hard. It's unsexy. It's so much time outside of already busy life. It's physically draining. It changes the dynamic. Like you're now husband, dad, and caretaker, right? Like changed everything. And I think therapy and conversation, like we tried to prioritize that a lot. Still do date nights. In between my chemos, we would leave our daughter with grandma and like get away for a night, which was not romantic. It was survival, but we prioritized that a little bit. And I think he was the number one reason. I think Elle was my motivator. Community and family were amazing. My doctor team is everything. We can probably get into it another time, but like ended up in a really strong community of lung cancer and cancer, young adults, cancer patients who have become very close friends like yourself.
I know, right? And thank you for saying that. You meet some of the most incredible humans walking very parallel lives to you. And I think what's been coming up for me, as it's still so fresh as it is for you too, I didn't really realize the timelines of ours were almost so similar. You connect with these people and not everybody makes it through, so that is a whole nother layer of the emotional aspect. But going back to you being in this new community and not really having those stable friendships established yet, that's just so incredible to me to hear how your neighborhood showed up for you, how your husband didn't leave your side. It reminds me so much of Nick because he was the same. He's like, yeah, I'm going to go to every chemo session with you. I'm going to pray over the bags. Like, we're making friends with the nurses. I'm like, sometimes you have to find like the little micro joys. And I'm also happy to hear that you made time for yourself and your relationship too. Like you had those date nights. It is such a conflicting thought process in my mind because it's like, okay, yeah, no, we need to focus on this right now because this is what is and we want to move past it. But at the same time, I'm reminded by so many lovely humans that are going through this in their own way. You have to still live your life. And I have to say, Lauren, like you are such an inspirational example of doing that because not only are you working full time, which I'm like, oh my God, I'm trying to figure out how to make this podcast something. I'm like, I don't, the energy level of mine is something I'm still trying to like bring back, hoping I'm going to get back to that previous version of me. But you're working full time, you're taking care of Elle, you moved your family across the world. You're continuing to meet new friends and make new connections and continue to add so much richness to your life while also having this situation going on with your health. It is so inspiring to me to see and such a great reminder to continue to do things for yourself.
Well, I mean, thank you so much for that. And you're never going to be the same as you were before. I'm not the same as I were before, and everybody just needs to give themselves grace with that, right? Like that just is. And you will find your energy sources 100%. I think to comment on the community, I think that one of the craziest realizations to me is that you, as my friend going through this, will understand me in a better and different way than any of my friends that aren't going through this, right? I have been connected to endless new cancer patients, survivors, people that had cancer 20 years ago. And like you meet that person and kind of besties for life for the most part, right? I've met a few people here in London. I would take off of work, go to appointments, but like I would do anything for people that are going through this. People did it for me. I'll pay it forward for the rest of my life to try to support people. And just the bond is indescribable. And it's awful to meet so many awesome people that way, but you meet them in this raw, unfiltered, not trying to impress anybody phase of your life. And you get to really see who people are. I try to find cancer perks. One of them is some of the connections that I've been able to
That
make. And the comment of continuing to live your life, like I also don't sometimes, right? Very early on, I had the motivation of I wanted my daughter to not see me sick, right? Or cry. Or so we took turns. She was such a happy, like naturally happy baby. And we're like, we can't mess this up, right? And
yeah.
we gave ourselves space, but away from her. But so that was one. Two, I had those moments, where you're in bed and you're crying and you're feeling sorry, whatever it is, like just so sick and so scared. And like my husband would be like, let's go for a walk. All you have to do is be like, I have cancer. And he's like, okay, I'll see you later. Right. Like, you win always. Like people can't talk you into
Yeah.
living your life. But like, I felt how low that felt. I could easily have never gotten out of bed, right? The depression, the anxiety, the overwhelming unknown, so different than your life was like yesterday, right? Or what you thought
Yeah.
your life was going to be. And so I was just like, no, you have to keep living. Why am I going through this horrible treatment and all of this if I'm just gonna like sit at home and be scared of life or scared of, and this is all the respect in the world, but like people be like, don't go out to dinner, like germs and everybody's opinions. Bless,
Yeah.
right? Thank you. For us, travel was always our big thing, right? We focused on our career and dating like way longer than most people did, right? We were 38 and 40 when we had Elle.
Mhm.
We'd spent 20, not together, but like 20 years separately, like traveling everywhere. That was like where all our money went to. My first question was like, am I making it to Elle's second birthday? My second was like, am I going to get to go on a plane again? Literally to the oncologist.
Yeah.
Am I living? And like, can I still travel? Right. Like that was, and so it was bite-sized things at first, but to me, you go through all of this to experience things like second cancer perk is you realize anything can change tomorrow. And that's not to scare people. Like it's just, I don't know, all these things that I thought my MBA, my promotion, like this salad I would force myself to eat when I didn't want salad. Like, I don't know, because I was being healthy. It all just froze and shattered. And it's none of, not that it didn't matter. It was my life and my relationships, but these pressures you put on yourself, just enjoy your life. If you get one, depending on your spiritual beliefs, just do whatever you can. So we have bad days, but we also, to your point, John's company was based in London. We have both come to London professionally forever. They knew my situation, so they weren't pressuring. They just kind of said, if you ever wanted to, like, open, and we brought it to the oncologist and they were like, go to London, we'll figure it out. And we did it. We're in London, which is crazy. Also, a whole other topic, but I don't think a lot of active in treatment cancer people move abroad. Moving scans and medicine. I feel like I could write a book in trying to move your cancer care internationally. It was a challenge, but super worth it and
I can
fairly
imagine.
exciting.
I mean, were your doctors involved at all in helping you find maybe the right experts in the area you were moving in, or was this really all you doing your own research?
It's a mix. It was a local hospital. They knew good hospitals. They didn't have a person I had to go see. Actually,
Right.
Dana Farber, who is partnered with it,
Mhm.
has a woman who's running a lung cancer lab. And it's primarily for young women navigating fertility with lung
Wow.
cancer. And her name
Okay.
is Dr. Narges Flores. She's an amazing human. She's hilarious. She's
Yeah.
brilliant. John and I had been trying for our second child when I was diagnosed. And so we've met with her kind of sporadically on what that journey should, if all of it. And she was at a conference in, I think, Barcelona and found the UK head of research for lung and was like, "You need to meet my friend Lauren," and introduced us
Wow.
via email. So a very happenstance type of thing. He's very well thought of here. He also, it's private care, so he gets to choose, which is crazy. They get to
Ah,
choose their patient load.
wow. Okay.
Yep, that's a thing that I'm learning. So he
Didn't
very
know that.
kindly accepted me, which is great, and he's been wonderful. But I mean, the amount of anxiety going from my team that had been through everything with me to like new
Right.
insurance,
Especially
it was
something
like part
new, having,
like
yes.
new machines and new doctors and new like just everything was very overwhelming. But we've gotten so lucky here as well, and they've been great. I have international care, so I can mail my scans home.
Okay.
They'll each read it. If there was, different opinions, they would jump on a phone. We've been very lucky in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, thank God. That's so wonderful. It is interesting how sometimes these little like glimpses, God winks, like divine intervention, whatever you want to call it, that happens on this journey, whether it's a wonderful nurse or doctor or something like that happening and you finding this doctor overseas, like just giving you a little bit of peace of mind or like reassurance or comfort on this journey goes such a long way. So I'm so happy to hear that. And I'm sure you're still, you're still navigating. um, I'm really glad to hear that you have them in your corner over there.
Yeah, you went through it with finding a doctor that actually gets you can bounce ideas off of, and there's no power dynamic. If they're the doctor, you're the patient, you're figuring it out together. Even if they know the answer, right? But if
Right.
they make you feel like you're part of the solution, it just does so much for like your buy-in and feeling like again, they have your back.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So this is a question I constantly get asked. You also don't have to answer this because I hate this question, but
Okay,
okay.
let's go.
Well, but no, it's now what? Like what is next? What is the continuation? And maybe this is something I haven't been able to articulate because everybody is a little bit different. But what does the ongoing care look like for you? Are you monitoring like when scans come up? I think maybe we can both talk about this because the anxiety is a real thing.
Yeah.
But so I guess this question is twofold. Like, what does the ongoing monitoring look like? And when that happens, how do you have anything you do that grounds you and gets you through?
My doctors back home and my doctors here have a different perspective on the go
Hmm.
forward. which
Okay.
which we're processing.
Yeah.
It's I'm honestly trying to unpack what's medical perspective versus insurance driven. Like it's really interesting watching
Mm,
like two different cultures, government, insurance
yeah.
stuff impact, and meeting a lot of cancer patients in the United States and a lot of cancer patients here, and seeing the differences in how diagnosis and treatment is approached.
Mm,
Um, Current care is consistent in both. I'm currently on every 3 month scans of my chest area where the cancer was. I do a brain MRI and a spine MRI because first place lung generally goes as brain or bone. I do that every 6 months. I have had scares with enlarged lymph nodes. So I don't even know if I mentioned, I'm 2.5 years, no evidence of disease right now. I've had enlarged lymph node, and then they'll do full PET scan or things like that. But I also have a toddler who gets sick and I get all of her stuff. We're constantly trying to keep track of what is normal getting exposed to like little kid stuff versus
right.
recurrence, right? That's hard to parse out. So for the most part, it's monitoring via the scans. I am on that daily treatment. It's not chemotherapy, but it's an equivalent. So
Mhm.
People actually use it as a first line of treatment in some instances. It's
Okay.
a high dosage.
Okay.
I'm on the highest dose of it. So technically inactive treatment, despite being no evidence. There's mixed. Some people can go off of it and be fine. Some people go off of it and it comes back a few months
Mm.
later. And so, as we were thinking about fertility, I would need to go off of it. I can't carry on my current. So that's impacted our ability to move forward with family planning in that way. The risk reward is something we continue to monitor in the United States. If I hit my 3, so that it's different. There's like the date of your diagnosis, but they measure my no evidence from the day of the surgery, which is like when they removed the cancer, right?
Yep.
There's been no evidence for 3 years is how long they originally said I would be on this daily. Technically, for long 5 years is when you can say remission. I'm
Okay.
not in remission until then because of just the advanced aggressive nature. So that's the US standpoint here. They say, why would you ever go off of it? So like they do not want me. This summer will be my 3 years in June, July. Like they're like, yeah, you could be fine, but also why would we? But there's side effects, there's buildup, there's cardio impact on your heart
Yeah.
over long periods of time. So we're honestly trying to figure it out. We weren't expecting that. We knew that there was the consideration of if I wanted to carry or like all of
Right.
that. Here being like, no, just stay on it forever. If we go home, it likely wouldn't be covered by insurance. And so it's a pretty big thing to
Mm.
unpack. So
Yeah,
I'll leave
I
that there
think
because
so.
that's like a weird one that we honestly are still trying to process. I think we want to get them all on a call on that one to see in a constructive way.
I
It's
think that would be
unusual.
great. Listen, the more you can get them talking,
Yeah.
because you have a difference of opinions of experts. I was talking to a friend of mine who I brought on here who had breast cancer, and she is a registered dietitian. And so she's like, when I was doing clinical rotations in the hospital and I was talking to who I thought was one of the most intelligent doctors, he said to me, I only practice medicine. I'm only practicing it. I was like, dang, okay. Sting. But obviously they're in it all the time, but research is always evolving and changing. And sometimes, even though you are like grouped with all of these people who have the same diagnosis, you're still Lauren. You are still, in a way, an N of one,
Yep.
So it's also up to you to make that decision for what is best for your health, considering all the pros and cons. But to have them talk and get in the same conversation, I think is
Yeah. Well, listen,
hopefully only going to bring you a little bit more like peace of mind with the decision that you do make.
yeah. So this is a like 1.5 to 2 year thing for my husband's job. We've already fallen in love with it, but family's back home. So our house is still there. We're renting it out.
Yeah.
But there's a real question that we didn't realize we would be facing, which is if when we go home, I'll be over 3 years, right? Let's knock on wood that like I continue having okay scans and everything. If they would say we won't cover Tagrisso,
Mm.
um, it's $32,000 a month out of pocket. So like not
A
really doable.
month.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a wildly expensive drug. So my dad was like, "I'll pay for it out of." No, nobody should do that.
Yeah.
Um there's an actual life decision that we might, depending on how things continue to progress, like if staying here keeps me on a medicine that could save my life or could make this not recur, right? So there's like it's driving way bigger life questions that we didn't realize because we didn't
Yeah.
know there would be a difference in opinion. We kind of assumed the standard of care was consistent and it just
Right.
isn't. Scans, I have one on next Monday on the 9th. So I'm entering into my like 7 days out here. I haven't solved that one. It's just awful, right? Like I haven't. I go to yoga. I try to do really cardio workouts, let me burn off some of the stress.
Yeah.
I don't know, time with family. I do take, I never took it before. I will let myself take Xanax like to sleep the night or two before scans and before the scan. The difference between here in the United States, I always had same day reads and things are much slower in the UK. So
Mm.
this past scan was my first time of multiple days and then shipping it to the United States, like, and then the team there reading it so it was my first time of like processing.
The team here needs to read it first.
No, their systems don't talk. So we have to like physically mail a disc.
Oh,
Crazy.
I want to say, why would they be? Because they probably don't experience it too often. Goodness, it's like an added layer. I know here in the US, at least with the experience I've had, you get the report before you even talk to the doctor. And then you're just like, Dr. Google, you're dissecting it. Are you able to see those results yourself over there before the doctor's review?
I think it's doctor's discretion. I did ask for that and he did allow
Mm.
it. So yes, I'm like yes, I'm a crazy person. But even in the United States, they would literally read it within an hour or two. And I would
Wow.
still be like texting them before they're with other patients. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, so like, and they're like, you have your medical degree now. Just get out of here. You're so annoying. I am but yes, so I would get the scan before. It honestly, like life happens. The December scan that I was really nervous about, my daughter got the flu the week before. I actually had ground glass opacity, so it was not the scans we wanted in December.
Okay.
Both doctors and radiologists felt very confident there wasn't evidence of disease, but there were enlarged things that
Mm.
I'm not going to feel comfortable until the ninth. So this one comes with a lot of weight in like A, stay healthy until then, and B, I've had it before. If you get sick, like that happens, but
Yep.
little extra anxiety. I don't think anybody ever saw. My uncle is like a 3-time survivor.
Wow.
I think like 8 years out from his last time. He's like, I don't even go to my annual physical comfortable still, right? I don't know. When doctors find something that you would never expect in your body, you don't really go to a doctor. My husband sneezes, and I'm like, to the MRI machine.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you kind
Exactly.
of have PTSD from it, right? I think you find your coping mechanisms. You hopefully have enough okay things where the chances of things recurring are going down, but you don't ever get to like innocently just go to your annual physical again or like
Yeah.
get blood work without thinking about it. Like that's
Oh, it's so true. I mean, just to like add on this, and it's, you know, there is some sort of like sick-minded comfort in having these conversations with people because I was never somebody, for whatever reason, like when I got the diagnosis in the hospital, I was in the emergency room, like ended up staying in the hospital for a week. I just like had this overwhelming sense of like, whatever it is, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to get through this. And I was like, oh, I'm going to start this podcast. And I'm going to tell everyone what's going on and how I got through it and how I got past it and blah, 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 blah. Like, my veins were never an issue. Like, I don't like to look, but okay, fine. And then it's like, now I had a very fast recurrence after
yeah.
the major surgery, so that like really pulled the rug out from under my feet and took the wind out of my sails. And so now I used to be like, okay, yeah, I knew, just meditate, dance, do these things, distract yourself before the next scan. But to your point, it's like a lot can be riding on these things.
It sounds scary. But go into these things and it depends where you're at, right? But after they've said, this is what we wanted, great. Your scans you're either still good or you're starting over, right? And like the weight of that one yes or no, you already know what you would have to go back to, right? So like
Yep.
you're too well versed in like what that's going to look like.
Yep.
There's just not really words, and it doesn't mean a scan when you have active cancer and its progression or stability. That's still super scary. But for me, at least my personal experience and what you went through is no, okay, we're back to the drawing board. I'm so sorry, and you are handling it with grace, and you're finding your
Thank you.
own. No, but I mean, you are. It's the worst. There's like top worst things, and you're gonna figure it out. And seriously, it just
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things where, as you were saying, it's like, okay, even as I'm dealing with the hard things, I can't stop moving life forward. I feel like now I'm just figuring out as I go. And I used to be somebody that focused so much on the future, so much on that accomplishment, so much on all the things that we thought we were going to have that maybe in the grand scheme of things don't hold as much weight anymore.
Yeah, for sure. Again, awful. The cancer perks are you really do shed your skin of a lot of the stuff that doesn't matter or you thought you were supposed to do or society don't, or act or prioritize or you do learn how to just like do what's right for you. I think you have to keep dancing. You have to see it. You have to believe it. Do
Yes.
it.
Yes. You do. And
Dance today. I want you to dance today. Post, post
girl,
a picture
I
of you
will.
dancing.
I will send you a video.
You know what? You know what?
Oh,
I resend me the dance that we all did before your surgery, and I will do it in my London hospital. Just
yes.
really British people will be like, "What?" I feel like in like New York, Connecticut, maybe like London. I'll do
Oh my God,
it.
that would make me so happy. It's funny to think back on that because I was just like, I had this like really weird idea that I'm going to ask people to dance for me, but I can't even tell you like
It made
the
me cry
joy and like
seeing you
the
post every picture.
overflowing of emotion I felt. I watched that every single day, like from my couch for weeks after. And, I haven't actually looked at it recently, but I'm like, maybe I should.
You
Because
should.
it's so easy to feel like isolated and alone in this. And it's like, no, like, this is what we do. We are human beings. We need one another. We need to support each other. And yeah,
My
it's
husband was like, "So we're gonna blast music and you're gonna dance in the hospital," and I was like,
you're like,
"Yeah,
yes, and you're
John."
gonna film it.
Yeah, and you have to be an Instagram husband and go film it. So like, giddy up, buddy. Let's go. I love to be like, I have cancer, right? Like I will use it till the cows come home. I don't care if that
Oh.
sounds bad. Like I'm still in treatment. So like you're filming me dancing through the hospital.
Yeah. You know what? Shout out to John and Nick. Shout out to these wonderful husbands of
Caregivers.
ours who, they help carry us through. And I think it's important to lean on your people and let that support come through for you. Because I'm somebody who could be like, oh yeah, no, I'm good. I got this. Like I'm fine.
Oh yeah.
It's humbling.
And it doesn't have to be everybody. Like I still say that to everybody, but with
Mm.
John, I'm like, I'm not fine.
Yeah. Right.
It's not good over here. You need
Right.
the one outlet where you could be like, it is, you got to get in here. It's nuts. It's not good. I am spiraling. Help me. And like you need to find your safe space to do that because I said this to somebody that was recently diagnosed. It's just so hard and so overwhelming and like it all feels so awful. And I was like, yeah, it's super hard and it's super overwhelming. And like, it would be really weird if this was easy for you to process, easy for like your body's supposed to reject the toxins that they're putting in it to
Right.
kill cancer. I
Right.
used to be like, am I failing cancer? My doctors would be like, your body is rejecting it because it's supposed to. That is the whole awful feeling is your body reacting exactly how it should to this stuff going in there. So like,
Yep.
it doesn't make it any better, but like it's totally normal for all of it to be awful.
Hmm.
You just got to find your bright spots.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, if you could give any advice to anybody going through this as a new mom, as somebody who maybe isn't a parent, like anybody, somebody young going through this, what is your advice to?
Yeah, on the medical side, it's love your team. You're not always gonna be super thrilled with everything going on. It's awful and hard, but like you trust your team. I think my biggest piece of advice is what we talked about a bit earlier. Keep living your life. It doesn't matter what that is. If it's some people just like being homebodies, that's great. If you used to go for a walk or try a new TV show or practice a language or go out to dinner, jump on a plane or go do a class or dance in the middle of a park. But you have to, even if it's a slower version, even if it's for 5 minutes, like remind yourself. I actually have a bracelet and I've been wearing it since the beginning. And it just says in really pretty script, so you can wear it to work and nobody knows. It says, remember who the fuck you are.
Wait, I have that bracelet.
It's so motivating. So like anytime I
I
feel
have
down, I'm
that
like,
bracelet.
nope, get
And I
your
don't know I
ass to that
didn't
class,
realize that
Lauren.
was
Like,
a thing. I did not realize that was a thing. I remember having a conversation with my therapist, God bless her,
yeah, God bless them.
when I was going through all this at one point, and I was like, I feel like I just need to remember who the fuck I am. So
Yep.
she's like, write that down
Get it on
and
your
put
list.
it somewhere. So I have laminated signs somewhere that Nick came home with one day. I wish I could find them.
Oh, do you not have the bracelet? I'm gonna buy you the bracelet.
Oh no, I have the bracelet. So then that became my thing. And then one of my best friends, when she came here after surgery last year to just kind of help me as Nick had to go back to work, she got me that bracelet. I mean, I don't wear it every day, but I was like, I didn't know that was a thing. I thought that was like,
I think
in my brain, but
I was
apparently
looking at Instagram and I was like, I need that. And John bought it for me. But like, I think that's it. Like, just remember who you are. You don't have to curse while saying it, though I curse a lot. It doesn't matter like what version of it. Like, I'm over intense. I need to go to like a boxing class to like remember, like that energy. It
yes.
could literally be meditating. reading a book, whatever it is that you did BC before cancer, still do it so that
Mm,
and you know what you're fighting for. You're going to get back to some version of that. And that's, I think, what helps people put one foot in front of the other.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I needed to hear that because I'm at the point too where it's like, okay, I've isolated myself so much. I used to be very active. I used to teach dance fitness. I feel like I can't get myself back in there because I'm just going to be comparing myself to who I was. But also after surgery, they removed one of the phrenic nerves of my diaphragm, got all cut into in between the ribs. Like I know you had, a
Yay.
similar situation. So like, what was your mindset or like your pep talk or just how did you give yourself grace re-entering physical activity?
I'm getting like a little emotional, not in a bad way. I think we've all had the experience of people who, this is all awful. We're the lucky ones that are here, right? We know people before this, during this, that don't get the same chance, aren't in the same place that we are. We've lost people.
Yes.
Um, at one point, I was terrified of the surgery. I had to sign a thing saying I had like X% chance of not making it and I wouldn't see the hospital. There was a high mortality risk. I,
Don't be.
I learned that there was a chance. When they went into my surgery, they did this one first, and it was to see if that right lymph node was active or not. If it was active, they were going to stitch me up, and I was not going to have a chance for the surgery. And luckily, mine was okay. They tested it, and they kept going. But I realized how much I shouldn't be scared of that surgery. Like, I'm lucky to be able to get that surgery, right? I get the chance to fight. I get the chance to lay on that bed and have them remove it. I get the chance to try to heal and go run a 5K or walk across the street, whatever
Yeah.
like your goal is you get the chance to fight and you get the chance to live. And so many people, I've lost 2 young cancer people very recently, that I was quite close to. And like, anytime I get like, I was stressed about moving abroad, right?
Mm.
Like, oh my 2.5, like I'm so overwhelmed or whatever. And I would stop and be like, 2.5 years ago, me sitting in a chemo chair would be so annoyed at my stress at not having the same running capacity or being able to move across the world. Like, what first world problems that is, right? So it's like, it's all hard. I still get winded carrying my daughter, walking upstairs. I cannot run like I used to. I have all kinds of side effects. It's like there's all the bad stuff, but I get to be here and I get to live and I get to fight. And some people I love very dearly no longer have that. And that is my motivator to be like, do 1/10 of what you used to do. You still get to do it. And there's people that would do anything to any of the things we mentioned, right? To go for a walk, to see their family, to travel, to whatever. So
Yeah.
I try to like live with, it sounds negative, but it's really not. It's like,
No, it's
man, what
great
would they think?
perspective.
What would they think?
Yeah.
I'm the luckiest
Yeah.
compared to where I could be, and I just kind of live with that, I guess.
That is, thank you for saying that because I needed to hear that. And I feel like I'm somebody who I think I don't want to say perform for people, but when I'm in a good headspace, it's so easy to be positive,
Yeah,
right? When
yeah.
I'm not in a good headspace, it's so easy to be like, ugh, woe is me. I
And
have been saying
you need to like let yourself feel both of those, right? This is super crappy. If you didn't have any of the illness, you're still gonna have really bad days, right? You're a human,
right.
and I think that's it. We're still humans.
Yep.
Things would
Yep.
still bother us without cancer, right? Life is already busy without
Oh
all
yeah.
of this. So
Yeah.
we're just sitting in like,
You'd be focused on something else.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. But
yeah.
yeah, I've been saying to Nick for the last what feels like 100 years, every winter, I'm like, we need to get out of here, even if it's just for a weekend. So we actually went to Florida this past weekend just for a few days, got in the sun, like felt so nice. And I when I got into the ocean last summer, maybe like 6 months out from surgery, and like went underwater for the first time and took that like breath, like I freaked myself out so much because it's like, oh my God, like I feel like I couldn't breathe. Like, okay. So I had that moment again, and Nick's just like, stop being a little baby. Like, you're fine. You got this. And I said, you know what? Also recently had lost a friend. And it's funny, like we had never met in person, but we had connected through social media, following each other's journeys, checking in on each other, sending each other motivation. Like, she passed away last week. And so she was on my mind. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this for all the people, as you're saying, like who don't have that opportunity right now, who are looking down from up above their family's missing them, like, okay, like, stop being a little baby. Just like jump in the water. Like, it's okay.
It's not being a little baby. It's just how lucky are we? And that's so crazy. But like when you look at the path where we could be, path others have been on, like how lucky are we to
Mhm.
still be here? And it's trying to like feel bad for yourself when you want, like, we deserve to, but realizing what we've been given and trying to make the most of it, even if it's crappy. I think that's it. I actually have this superstitious thing. At 11:11, I tell Elle it's my friends in the sky. So she doesn't know we've never talked about cancer or illness or death or
Mhm.
anything, but she
Yeah.
knows. And if I don't do it, like I have to, I could be on a presentation, a meeting, and I do like, I'm not super religious. Like I'll pretend I'm itching myself and I talk to them and then I blow 15 kisses. I'm not sure where it came from, but I always do it. And unfortunately, people have added, but I'll like, if I get really frustrated at my husband or I don't know, somebody that bumps into me, whatever, I'll like be like, guys, I'm so sorry. I get it. I'm taking things for granted and I'm so sorry. As if they're watching me all the time and they're like, are you serious right now being frustrated
Yeah.
by that? They're kind
Yeah.
of my inner monologue or gut check for, do you remember how lucky you are?
I
And
love
I
that.
just try to, it might make me sound a little crazy, but I do it.
No, I get it. Trust me. Like I was thinking about that same friend yesterday as I was like making dinner and I was like, "Ugh, I don't feel like putting this all together." But like she was also similar to me in like the health wellness coaching arena. So I was just thinking about her and something that she had shared. I'm like, she doesn't get to make dinner for her family right now. Like
Right.
it's a blessing. It is a blessing that we're still here and we're doing as
Potentially.
well as we are. And, we get to
Get to.
live this life.
I'm not exactly sure what it looks or feels. I've always obviously been passionate about travel. I actually got connected. It was called the Jackie Foundation, but they try to provide experiences for advanced cancer patients in travel, right? Things they haven't been able to do or whatever. And
Mm,
I've been like channeling my job is fine. It's fulfilling. It's corporate America. It pays the bills, right? Like, and it's a great
yeah.
company. I'm super happy. Um, but it's not like what gets me up in the morning. You know what I mean? So I've always like done travel advice stuff. And I'm starting to think about like actually formalizing like my little side passion project of travel advising and experiences with the lens of what are you waiting for? So whether it's budget travel or luxury travel or family travel or couple, I'm trying to figure out what that looks like. So we can talk about future fun travel too.
I love that. And oh my God, you'd be so good at it. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I'm like, it's the only thing I'm good at. Like that and being a mom are the only things I'm good at. So,
That is far from true.
well, it's the only thing I like doing.
There you go.
um,
Because I ask everybody, you're on the Forward Think Tank. What is it that keeps you moving forward in life?
my family. My family. Yeah, just my I before this, I had like a DNR will. My dad's an estate planner. I had like, if I break my leg, do not resuscitate. Like, I don't want to be a day in the hospital. When John and I got married, I was like, if I ever get sick, which I'm not gonna, because like everybody lives till 110 in my family, I'm declining all treatment. I'm going to a beach in Thailand. I will never do treatment, whatever. I think like when it happens, you're like, I'm not leaving my family, right? Like I'm not
Yeah.
leaving my husband and my extended family, my daughter. So it's 100% for my family.
Well, you have a beautiful family. I love seeing Elle and all of her adventures happening in London. So keep sharing. Um, this was a really special conversation. And I know we kind of pulled out some traumatic experiences. So I just really appreciate you sharing so candidly. And I love you.
I love you
And
too.
I
Thank
will be
you for
thinking
inviting
about
me on.
you,
Thank you for
waiting up
asking
for the
me
night. Yeah,
questions. And
girl.
it's so good to see you. And let's catch up
You
soon.
too. Yes. Sounds great.
Go dance today. I want you to go dance. I'm going to check in on you later with the time difference. I'm going to be getting in bed and be like, have you danced today?
Yes, I will. I'm going to go do that right now. Have
Okay.
breakfast and have
Do
a
a
little
little
dance
dance.
party.
Okay. All
Love
right.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
I'll talk to you
you.
soon. Love you. Bye.
Did you enjoy this episode? If so, I would appreciate you taking a moment to please leave a 5-star review. Every review helps visibility with this episode to reach more people. And I am on a mission to help people learn alternate resources to support themselves in their healing journey on their road to health. So please take a moment to leave a review, leave a comment. I read every single one and I respond back. And of course, the most helpful thing you can do is to share this episode. If you found it helpful, if you found it entertaining, please share it on social media, send it to a friend, a loved one, someone you think could find this helpful. It means the absolute world to me. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening, and I will see you soon.